the center. I can remember it all started with a forced big huge pain in my ass. On the way over here though, it finally dawned on me. I see what he's doing. I get it now. You getting me back? He's getting me back for everything that I did to him into the 90s. You think the reign of terror from 2002 to 2005 was something? You ought to try working for the dude. Where's a frickin' sledgehammer when you need it? Just like in the 90s.
Let's go. Triple H, Triple H, Triple H, Triple H. You deserve it. You deserve it.
Thank you, Hunter.
I've been sitting back there for the last 15 minutes blubbering, so I might be dehydrated. If I pass out, someone come and drop an elbow on me or something. We can get some mileage out of it at least. Love all of you. It doesn't get any better than having.
Let's go.
I'm not good talking when I get choked up. We
Let's
might be here for a
go.
while.
Hunter, the game.
They say in life, if you can find a true friend, you're truly a rich man. He makes me a billionaire. Thank you all for being here, first of all.
Yeah.
I wanna
Let's get
mention
it.
just off the top, first of all, Motorhead. That song to me just never gets old.
Yeah.
Lemmy gave me the gift of his sound and his friendship, and I could never repay him for that. One thing before we get started tonight, I wanted to take a moment to do one little thing here.
Let's go.
Rich Herring, please stand up. Many of you saw Rich get inducted in the Hall of Fame a few years ago, but he's here tonight. I wanted him to be here. Just so happens that on this day today, 55 years ago, Rich Herring did his first show for the WWF. And he has never left this company.
Loyalty, baby.
He was here through thick and thin, and as I would learn to know him, I would start to call him the Wolf, like in Pulp Fiction. Because if shit went really bad, if something was really messed up and you didn't know what to do, I would just call the Wolf and he would fix it. Thank you, Rich, for all your years, for being here. You were the man. Thank you. A lot of us would not be here especially my friends, if it wasn't for Rich Herring. You know, when Nick first sprang this on me, we were doing a town hall, and out would walk Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker, and I was thinking to myself, like, probably should have read this format better before we came out here, because I didn't know these guys were coming out, and I had no idea what they were doing. Since that moment, I've been trying to think about how do I talk about this? And I still don't know how. You know, everybody has their version of these speeches. Some are short, some are long, some from past years are still going right now. Mr. T is somewhere. He loves his mom, and he's just going home with the finale of that speech. But I get it now. This is by far one of the hardest things to put together. The deeper I dug into it, the harder it got. And I realized that as I went through this, it wasn't about me. It was about the people that got me here. At the end of the day, I'm just a kid from New Hampshire that at 5 or 6 years old was sitting on my dad's lap, saw Chief Jay Strongbow, and I never looked back. It was all I ever wanted to do. It was all I ever wanted to be. But without the people in your life that give you that encouragement, that lead the way, that help in whatever way they can, you just don't get there. I had a lot of those people, and I was very lucky to have them. People will say in life when they look at somebody, oh, he's a self-made man, or, you know, he came from nothing and became something. He's a self-made man. There isn't a self-made man on this planet. Everybody is a product of the people around them and what it leads them to do. For me, it starts with my parents. I've said it before when we did DX. My mom taught me all that stuff.
Hunter, let's go.
Yeah, she'll tell you to suck it. Just wait. But they taught me a work ethic and a skill set, not to become rich, not to do anything else, because working your ass off is what's right to do. If you believe in something, work until you have it. Work until it is yours. They taught me that. And if I could just take a personal second, tonight is their 61st anniversary. My sister Lynn is here, always supportive, always believing in me. She's 4 years older than me. I can remember one time a kid same age as her beating the shit out of me. I went home and told her, and she proceeded to leave the house and beat the shit out of that kid. So, always been there to have my back. She recently had a similar cardiac situation that I had. And when you talk about hard work, not only has she bounced back, they now have her giving testimonials. She's on billboards and shit. She got a huge head now. She thinks she's something, you know, something special. Big star in the family, you know what I mean? Like, but she is, because she turned her entire life around and made this remarkable comeback. She's a fighter, and I'm incredibly proud of her. My sister Lynn.
Yeah.
Her kids are here, Nasa and Pete. I love them to death.
Let's go, Hunter.
Once I discovered wrestling, it was always in the back of my mind. It was what I wanted to do. At 14 years old, I went to a gym because I thought, like, well, I got to get big like the guys I see on TV. I got to go in the gym and I got to train. I went to the gym for the first time and I absolutely fell in love with it. And I would meet another person that would help lift me up there, Brian Zagaritas, who was sitting right there. Friends for 40 years. He was my first training partner. He was jacked up, college kid. He saw this 14, 15-year-old, 6'1", 130-pound string bean kid that was probably like the gym mascot, and took me under his wing and beat the living shit out of me in that gym every day to help me achieve my goals. And I'm forever grateful for that. Sitting next to him is a good friend of mine, Mike Belanger, who 40 years ago was a guy in the gym. I asked him to come out here because 40 years ago I was a guy closing the gym where he would be there every night and I'd be wearing him out with stupid stories about how I was going to get in the wrestling business and take that world over, and he listened to all of it and believed all of it and said, you should do that. And that kind of encouragement leads you to do incredible things in your life when you have somebody that stands behind you. So thank you. Around that time, I would discover Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'd watch a movie called Pumping Iron. I'd discover Arnold. I'd read a book that he wrote called Education of a Bodybuilder. I probably read it 1,000 times. In that book, there would be a blueprint that Arnold had as a kid from Austria that would decide that he was going to become the greatest bodybuilder on the planet, and he was going to move to America, which was unheard of, and then he was going to become the biggest movie star of all time, and then he was going to get into politics and so on and so forth. I read that book like it was a blueprint of how to get what you wanted out of life. And it started in that gym, because the weights didn't lie. The harder you worked, the more you got out of it, the more you got out of it, the more you succeeded. And for me, that was everything. So Arnold became a big role model for me, and somebody that I would look up to my entire career and still do to this day. I've said this to him personally, he is the American dream. But without his sort of being there in my life, whether he knew it or not, and certainly he didn't know it at the time, he would inspire me to become something more. So thank you. Along the way, one day, Ted Arcidi would walk into my gym, World's Strongest Man. And, you work your ass off for something, and then one day you catch the break. Here's this guy, he's been in the business, and I asked him to help. I'm my early 20s. Hey, please guide me. Is there a place I can go train? It wasn't like now where you can just look on the internet. He told me, you don't want to get in that business. It's a horse business. Stay out of that. You're a nice kid, don't do that. Yeah, I just couldn't take no for an answer, and he would turn me on to this grumpy old man named Killer Kowalski. Kowalski, in his own unique way, in a no AC, no heat having boxing ring that was like concrete, would teach me in his own unique way. He would see something in me, and after the first day I trained there, which to be honest felt like the most, trying to get them to that level they're trying to aspire to be. I might not have known what he was telling me at the time, but they sunk in and helped get me to that next place. From there, I would go to WCW, and I see Eric Bischoff sitting right there. Eric took a chance on a gun, geographically undesirable, right? But he took a chance, and he gave me a job, and Eric, for that, I'm forever grateful. You gave me the start. You opened the door for me into something more. Thank you. From there, the first person I would meet in WCW was Dusty Rhodes. And it was on Dusty's last day as Booker in WCW, and I had no idea, and I'm kind of the one that informed him of that when I told him that Eric Bischoff asked me to come there. But he was wonderful to me. And later in life, he would become a mentor to me. Your dad meant the world to me. When I was there, people that would just give me words of encouragement, that meant the world to get me to that next level. Arn Anderson would walk up to me after my dark match and tell me, "You just got yourself a job, kid. Way to go." And then later that night he would say, when the show was over, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I would say, "I'm going back to my hotel." That's it. And he would say, "No, you're not. You're coming out with us." I went out with Arn that night. Once he realized that I didn't drink or do drugs or anything else, I would go out with Arn a lot, since I could drive us home safely every night. And also, when he was in an unsafe environment for him, he would also make me go get a Popeye's chicken at all hours in the morning, which he would enjoy greatly. So it was a mutual relationship there. But I would learn an incredible amount from Arn Anderson, and I'm forever grateful. Harley Race, I would meet in WCW. Harley would walk up to me first day. I had said hello to him, he had said hello, and then a little while later would come up to me with a cigarette. "I heard you trained with Kowalski." "Yes, sir, yes, I did." And then he stared at me for an unreasonably long amount of time that I was very uncomfortable, and I wasn't sure if he was gonna hit me. I really wasn't sure what was gonna happen, and finally he just took another drag and said, "He was the shits." "Yes, sir, I realize that. Yes, thank you very much." Harley would go on to teach me a lot of things, and a lot of people have a lot. Was a guy that I worked with once. He looked at me and said, "How long you been working?" And I gave him the standard lie that everybody put on their stuff at the time, 5 years. And he was like, "How long you really been working?" And I said, "I don't know, like a year and a half or something." I got to WCW pretty quickly. And he said, "Man, you fooled me." He said, "Well, look, WCW has a place called the Power Plant. I know you don't have to go, you're a contract guy, but I go there every day to train. If you want me to take you the rest of the way and you want to learn, I'll be there." I went to the Power Plant every single day to work out with Terry Taylor and Steve Regal. Terry would take me into his home. His wife was a hell of a cook, but he would bring me around his wife and he would bring me around his kids. He made me part of his family when I didn't have one. And I was very close to my family. So being by myself in Atlanta, Terry made it a home for me. And he made me feel like family. I'll never forget that. Thank you. Steve Regal was sitting a couple of rows in front of him. We would ride up and down the road together. We were about to become the Blue Bloods when I left to come here. Sherry Martel was going to be with us. But as big of a moment as that maybe was going to be for him, we had been told all these big plans, and it was great. He would come to me every day and honestly say, "Get out of here. Pack up and leave and go to WWE, WWF at the time, and let Vince make you a big star. Get out." To this day, he is one of my best friends. He says it a lot to me. He says it all the time, but I would for him as well. I'd take a bullet for you. Now I get to personally, his wife told me, buy her a set of earrings that he picked out personally to come give to me, to give to Aurora. He was one of a kind. Guys in that time frame, and I'll just mention them briefly, that would give me a lot of encouragement, and I don't even know that they knew it. One was a guy named Stunning Steve Austin. But he would pull me aside on a regular basis to give me little tidbits of, "Hey, when you're out there, try this, try that." He was one of the few guys in an environment that was really rough at the time that was actually giving and didn't need to be. And another guy I'm looking at directly right here is Mick Foley. Cactus Jack would pull me aside in the hallway and give me little tidbits of advice and things to do and things to look forward to, and his kindness always was a wonderful thing, and it meant a lot to me. And later, and I'll talk about it later, but I hope you know how much you mean to me. Terry Taylor, who unfortunately earlier today had a little bit of a medical incident, so he's not here tonight. I wish he was. People to travel with aren't for me. I was in Boston at the airport getting a rental car, and I was just gonna drive by myself to Portland, Maine. And this white sketchy van pulls up outside the window and starts honking the horn. And I think like some crazy person out there honking at me. And finally I see Kevin Nash's head in the window. And he's waving at me. So I'm like, here's Kevin Nash. Like, I'm in line, like I'm finally getting to the front. I've been in this line forever. This isn't order by phone days. You can ask your parents, they'll tell you about it. I walk out, get out of line, walk out. He goes, who you riding with? And I said, I'm just gonna ride by myself. I drive up to Portland. He goes, jump in with us. He was by himself. I said, who's us? He said, yeah, Kid, Sean and Scott. I'm picking them up in a minute. I was like, you got a lot of people, man, no worries. I'm good. And he said, no, just get in here, would you? So I went back in, got my bags, threw them in the car. And all we did was talk about business the entire way. And I loved it. Scott Hall would every night say, to us in those cars and in those vans, can we just not talk about business tonight? Can we just drive and just not talk business for one night, please? But before we do that, you know, in your match tonight, and he would start to go into business, and that's all we would talk about again. But when Sean says, how did I, the guy that didn't drink, didn't smoke, didn't do drugs, didn't do any of that stuff, how did I end up with them? Let me tell you about the first night I ride with them. We go to Portland and we work. Kid's already laughing because he knows this story mostly buries him. We leave Portland to a Denny's. It's packed, it's all college kids, and we're fairly recognizable at that point in time. Kev, I'm driving, so Kev's mildly in the bag. Scott Hall is very in the bag. Sean is pretty in the bag. And I'm hoping isn't gonna get worse. He's sitting next to me. On the other side is Kid, who's perfectly fine. Kid has a habit of ordering like 5 drinks at one time. So he orders like, can I get a coffee, an iced tea, soda water, a lemonade, and a strawberry shake, please? Like he's like the drink master. He's totally fine. I start to talk to Sean, who I'm thinking, oh man, he is getting a little bit worse. And I go to turn to Kid, and Kid is face down in his strawberry shake. At this point in time, Scott Hall is in a massive argument with the waitress that he saw the cook put a booger in his eggs. And he's adamant that this is, like he has seen this, and he wants the manager, and she's not having it, and now the manager comes, and he's yelling at this manager about bring the cook out here. I saw him from over here put the booger in the eggs. Kev is just kind of looking at him, and I can't tell how bad off he is, but I realize Kid is not getting out of this shake, and I gotta get him out of here. So I look at Sean and I say, hey, we should probably go, because Scott is in a position where they're threatening to call the cops now, and he's face down in a strawberry shake. We should get him out of here. Sean straightens up for a bit. We start to drag Kid up, and everybody's seeing this scene and making a huge deal out of it. We're gonna drag him out of this restaurant, and he catches his ankle on the door on the way out and starts screaming at the top of his lungs, my ankle, you're killing me. is getting worse by the second. We get outside, and now as he gets outside, he kind of passes out. And I'm starting to get really scared. And now out comes Kevin and Scott and the manager and the waitress, and a bunch of kids are following them, and they're calling the police. And I'm like, shit. This is day one, by the way, of traveling with them. I now put Kid up against the van, and Sean says, is he breathing? And I feel for his pulse, and it's there, but it's there. And I panic, and I start slapping the shit out of him, because I think that's how I'm gonna wake him up. Sean starts to yell at me, what are you doing? You're kicking his ass, stop beating him up. Why are you beating him up? And I'm like, he's dying, I gotta try to wake him up. And now here comes Scott, what are you doing? He's mad, they're calling the cops. We can hear this going on, there's all these kids. Just throw him in the van. Everybody else gets in the van. We at that point I drive him straight to the emergency room, where we sit for hours until he begins to come out of this. And Kev leans forward and tells him, just deny service and they'll let us go. And that's what he does. And we drive back to the hotel. My nerves fried. We get in there and I look at the clock, and we have 1 hour before we have to be up and drive to the next town. And we get up, get in the van. It was daytime now, the sun had come up, so now Kev was gonna drive, because that's how it worked. Big Kev in the afternoons, me at nighttime. We would establish this relationship over time. Kid would now come downstairs 15 minutes later than everybody else, like usual, get in the van and say, hey, thank you guys for saving my life last night. Let's go. And for some reason, I loved it and thought, I'm gonna ride with these guys all the time. For the life of me, I have no idea why, but thank you guys. And everybody had their strengths in that car. Kev saw the business like a movie, completely like a movie. He thought big, giant, cinematic picture things and all this stuff. Kid was a measuring stick. If you could work with him, if you couldn't work with him, you were out. At some point, they would put everybody in the ring with him and see how well they did. If they rocked it with him, they were in. If they didn't, you were done. You couldn't go, and you got moved to the side. He was the measuring stick. Sean could put it all together like nobody else. You know, just got it all, was a Pat disciple, you know, could do all that stuff. But Scott had a way of simplifying everything, that he would just say something to you so simplistic that it would change your view of the business. Like, he would say it and he'd be like, yeah, we do that all the time. That absolutely makes no sense. You are correct. And you would just move on. He had this simplicity about him to the point where it was genius. And I learned, he's so underrated. I learned so much from Scott Hall. I don't even know how to say it. He also had a unique personality. One time on Raw, we had worked on the night before, me ducking the discus punch, and he would catch me with the left. We decided to do it on TV, and he would proceed to knock me out cold on Monday Night Raw. I don't remember the end of the match. I was working with Scott. Kid ran out. I don't remember any of that. Next thing I remember was Kevin Nash picking me up and putting me in a folding chair, and Scott getting right in my face and saying, you got a glass jaw, puss, and walking off. He's one of a kind, and I miss him every day. The amount of people that I had here, I was so lucky when I came in to work with, you know, from just a who's who of the greats of this business. Every single night you got to work with somebody like Brett or Steve or Sean or Kid or Kev or Scott or Nick, or, you know, at various times, and this myself, and the Bushwhackers, and everybody that you could learn from under the sun. It really was a melting pot of all these styles and abilities that I loved it. I'd work with somebody different every night and just soak it up. Anchor, She was the grounding point. She was the foundation. She sort of was the mother of a group, not only of me and Sean, but later of Dog and Billy and Kid and me. We probably would have imploded at some point if it wasn't for her. She would keep us grounded and really was the glue. And she forever changed this business. The women that we have now are incredible, and a lot of that springs out of her ability to do what she did and inspire generations. I'll be forever thankful to her for that. Damn straight. Dog, Billy, Kid, that second version of DX was probably the most fun I've ever had in this business. Brian James, I would ride with you and laugh so hard for 6 to 8 days straight. My abs would be killing me by the time we got home. I think, like, what happened to me? It was just because you made me laugh the entire trip. Either that or it was a contact eye. I'm not sure which one. But that DX run was one of the best parts of my career, and I love it. Thank you. I mentioned him earlier. I'm gonna try to buzz through this because it's getting late, but I don't, when you do this, you just don't want to miss people. And I know I will. But I mentioned Steve Austin earlier. Steve would become like a mentor to me, whether he knew it or not. We always had this honest relationship with each other where if he didn't like something I did, he would tell me it sucked, and I would kind of do the same for him. So when everybody else was blowing smoke at you, we were at least honest with each other. And I'm always thankful for that relationship, because that honesty, when all you want is that honesty, you many, many times don't get it. And Steve would always give it to me, and I'm forever grateful for that. Mick, you gave me the gift of toughness. At a point in time in this business where everybody questioned, do I have it to go to that next level? You told them I did, and you proved it to them by everything you did for me. That street fight, that Hell in a Cell are two of my favorite matches of all time. And the fact that you chose at a time when you were walking away, which would only be actually for a couple of months, but where you were having to walk away from the business, that you said, I'm gonna do that with you, and I'm gonna give you that. I'm gonna give you that gift of my toughness, of Cactus Jack's toughness. The moments that you and I created are embedded in me. I'll never forget them. Not just in the ring, but moments that we created. You walking down that ramp and switching shirts, and it being a magic moment for me, for you, for many people. One of my favorite opponents of all time, one of my favorite people of all time. Thank you very much to all of you. And Dave Batista, who I believe is not here. I wish he was. I wanted him to be here. With Rick would stand by my side. And I always, to me, Rick was my hero. Greatest of all time. We would form Evolution, which would become something that, in my mind, changed the business. The idea of it was to take two young guys that we thought had everything and give them the opportunity to become stars, if we could make it happen. Along the way, you taught me what it's like to give back. I gotta get my estrogen checked or something. You taught me the gift of giving back, because watching you and Dave do what you did, watching you and Dave overcome, watching you and Dave become two of the biggest stars this business has ever seen, watching you mature into the man that you are today, the dad, the husband that you are today, watching Dave become the movie star and go on to do the things, leave this to go grind and become something different in another environment. Watching the two of you become what you are, and knowing that in some way we just had a whiff of something to do with that. Just stand by your side to watch you become that. Would light a fire in me to do that with others. Thank you for being the pain in the ass that you were. And I mean that because it helped me for where I am now. Thank you. And the rehab specialist, Kevin Wilk. Everything that I tore, they put back on me. Kevin and Dr. Andrews and Dr. Dugas put me back together. Kevin Wilk made it possible for me to return. At times when they would tell me when I first tore my quad, you're probably never gonna wrestle again. They wouldn't let that happen. So I owe them the world because it got me through the rest of my career. They put the pieces back together and taught me how to do the hard work to get to the next level. The creative side for me would come at a different time. I would get the opportunity to sit under the learning tree from '96 forward. I got invited to start coming to production meetings. I didn't have to, I wasn't being paid to, I had to get there hours earlier than everybody else. But I loved it so much that that's all I wanted to do. I wanted to sit in that room and learn from these people, and I would do anything to do it. Sure that this business carries on from there. The people that I work with today, again, that led me through all of this. Michael Hayes. Michael Hayes, where is he? I should be able to spot him. He might have left. He might have left. The batteries were wearing out in a suit. Hopefully he'll watch this later. He's one of the most unique individuals I've ever met, but he's also got one of the biggest hearts I've ever met, of anybody I've ever met. And I tell him this all the time, but he is this generation's Pat Patterson. There is nobody better at what he does. I learned a ton from him, and I continue to this day. There's a bunch of other people that I work with now hand in hand. Bruce Pritchard, he's been here forever. Bruce was always, a lot of times, put into a position where he was not seen favorably because he was between a rock and a hard place of the office and talent at a time when the office and talent was a direct line, a wall that separated him. And he had to be the liaison with that wall. A lot of people look down on that. The thing I always admired about Bruce is he did it with grace and a dignity towards the talent that I always admired. He's an essential part of what we do today. And I'm thankful to get to work with him on a daily basis. And then there's another guy in the back that I would want to mention is Ed Koski. Ed's been one of the lead ceremony where I sat behind you looking at your wonderful ass the entire evening. You said sometimes a man just has to accept reality. I don't believe that. Sometimes you gotta just say, fuck reality, Paul. And you gotta create your own. You helped me learn that. You did. Paul has a Hall of Fame ring on his hand. Inside that ring, I had inscribed consigliere. Thank you. The rest of my family, Linda. And it just dawned on me right now how pissed off Sean is in the back because he's got to be at NXT in like 15 minutes. It's part of why I'm going so long. It's kind of fun. I get to pay him back for all that shit for all those years. My daughters could not have a better example of what a strong, powerful woman is than you. From CEO to the highest levels of giving back to this country, you are an inspiration to them, to Steph, to myself. I love you very much. Here, but he's the brother I never had. Miss you, Shane. Hopefully we'll see each other soon. Please jump off anything incredibly high anytime soon, please. And now there's one thing that I've skirted around all night long, but I've got to talk about it, and that's Vince. It's a complicated story and a complicated relationship, but in so many ways I would not be here without him. Not just in my business life, which would be enough on its own. My career, he's the one that saw something in me creatively, invited me to those production meetings, taught me, let me sit under that learning tree, and encouraged me to sit under the Pat learning tree and continue to learn. But also in my personal life, my family. He wasn't just my boss. He wasn't just a friend. He wasn't just a mentor. He would become my father-in-law. He's my wife, the person I love the most in this world. He's her father. He's my kid's grandfather. So it's complicated. When there's somebody that helps propel you that far, you owe them so much. He taught me so much, what to do, what not to do. I'm grateful for all those lessons. I love you, Vince. And thank you. One person I also want to bring up. There's no one in this business I respect more than him. He was the measuring stick here. He was the locker room leader when locker room leader meant locker room fucking leader. He was the calm, steady hand. He was the person that I always looked to. I learned so much from him. You had to earn his trust. For a long time, he wouldn't speak to me other than to say hello. Many, many months into that, one night I would be sitting at a bar with the Kliq, and he would look over at me and give me a nod. And I would walk over to him and he would put 2 shots of Jack Daniels in front of us. And he would just look at me. And I picked it up, and we drank that Jack Daniels, and I knew well enough to gargle it as well. I proceeded to try not to throw up. But we put the glasses down. He just looked at me, nodded, said, "You're all right." That was the beginning of a friendship. When I would begin a relationship with Steph, that in many ways could have been the end of my career if things didn't work out well. Could have been the end of hers. Could have been the worst thing in the world. But when you're there and you love somebody, you kind of don't have a choice, right? And I was stuck in this rock and this hard place of what do I do? The person I went to was Taker to say, what do I do here? The words he gave me set up the rest of my life. Fuck everybody else. You know who you are. You know what you do. You know what you bring to the table. You're taking a risk. It's yours to take. But if you love her, go get it. And anybody that doesn't like it, make him fuck off. That changed my life and meant more to me than he will ever know. A few years ago, I had a health scare. Went from running crazy and thinking nothing can touch you, doing business. I had been on a run of, 20 days or something like that, going West Coast, East Coast, Orlando, back to West Coast, back to Vegas, back to East Coast. I was running crazy and I started to get sick and I thought I had pneumonia. Kept getting worse. Went to the doctor and I was in heart failure. How does that happen? Yeah, you're having a heart moment. You're like, your ejection fraction should be around 55, 60. Mine was, by the time I got in there, single digits. I was on the 1 yard line. At that point, your life changes. I see this as a gift now. Taught me things about myself and what was important. And while your passions and the things you go after and the things that you strive to be at the end of the day are just the things you do with the people around you. And it's the people around you that matter. I not once laid there thinking like, holy shit, I got a production meeting tomorrow, or I have a board meeting, or Jesus, I gotta get this project done, I gotta go do that. All I thought about was Steph and those girls. Incredible. It's a clarity. I work as hard now as I ever did, but I see things differently. The passion that I have for it differently. Little things don't bother me nearly as much as they did. Those little moments where you're just frustrated, things aren't going your way, you feel like this isn't, how can they do this to me, or whatever it is that's going on in your life, it fucking doesn't matter. Doesn't. Because this shit can all end tomorrow, for anyone. So, think about what's important in your life, and embrace it, and live it to the fullest. For me, what was important was those three girls, and Steph, Aurora, who has been on me all day about, you better talk about me. All she's been waiting for is me to get to this part. It's hard for me to believe, in my mind, there's still, Cody, in my mind, there's still tiny little things sitting on my suitcase or my briefcase. Rolling them into the production meeting so they could sing Twinkle Twinkle in front of the most grizzled bunch of miserable men on the planet, and they would all melt because of it. Aurora is now in college, playing softball for Springfield, working towards a doctorate in physical therapy. She's one of the hardest working kids I know, and I'm so incredibly proud of her. Murphy, who is 16, has her license, holy shit, is about as eclectic as it gets. She rides horses, she paints, she draws, she's incredibly creative, and she also plays on the boys' football team in high school. She's a running back on that team. And when I asked her why she wanted to play football with boys, I want to prove to myself that I can. Take on the world, Murphy. You can do it all. And Vaughn. 14 going on 40. Like she's been divorced twice or something. The fashion icon, telling everybody in the family what to wear. I don't know, it's gonna be a pop star or she loves to sing, she loves to dance, loves to have fun. You can do anything you want to do in this life. I'm proof of that. Just work your ass off for it. And Steph, people always say this, best friend. I don't know if I can, actually. You're my best friend. You're my rock. You're everything. I could not imagine a better partner, a better mom, a better person to be by my side through all of this. Ups and downs and everything. One word, forever. Not a bad commitment level for a guy who's just trying to get a better spot in his job, right? 20 years later, 3 kids, I'm all in on that shit. And then the last person, and I swear to God, I'm going home. I want to bring up Nick Khan. And you, Sonny. Sonny's a secret weapon creatively. He comes in, tells me what needs to happen on all the creative as we move forward. He walks in the door, says, Triple, here's what you needed I've ever met. One of the best human beings I've ever met. One of the best people at reading things and reading people and reading a room and looking at business things. And he will tell you, I swear sometime, he's like a human crazy 8-ball or something like that, where he just has the answers for everything as they're coming in real time. He does not like to be in the spotlight. He does not like to be in the forefront, and he doesn't like to be thanked for it or seen for it. So make sure that you go up to him if you see him at something and bother him because he needs it. But Nick, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. So I'm gonna wrap this up. Talked about a lot of people and how they influence me to do something more, to be something more than I ever thought I could be. Because in many ways, tomorrow and Sunday, I'm still just that kid. I'm just not sitting on the couch now. I'm sitting in a chair in gorilla position with a headset on, just watching what I love to watch. Tomorrow I'm going to get to watch the best athletes on this planet do what they do better than anybody else in the world, in the greatest form of entertainment in the world. And while I'm trying to hide it and not be that little kid and do business, inside, I'm still going to be that little kid. All the people that I mentioned today helped prop that little kid up to be something more. More than just the 14-year-old kid in New Hampshire, how you interact with others. The slightest compliment, the slightest assistance, the slightest nod to them can change their life and make them do something more. A negative comment, tearing them down, the shooting a hole in somebody's dream or telling them they're not or they can't, or whatever that is, can have the exact opposite effect. I'm telling you, with everything that I am, when you do the first, when you encourage others, when you help them get their dreams, it is truly the greatest part of my life now, is seeing these kids succeed, helping, try to give back, try to encourage, try to be a positive light in this world, so that everybody can be the best that they can be, and it's the only way to move forward. The last person that I want to thank in this room is all of you. Call it what you want. Call it what you want. Call it fans, call it the WWE Universe, call them Marks, I don't care what you want to call them. None of us are anything without you. I sure as hell am nothing without you. You have made this dream possible, whether you loved me or hated me. And it's been up and down all over the place. Feelings mutual, just for you. Thank you to all of you. You've taken a normal kid from New Hampshire's life and made it into a dream that he could never write, ever. And I'm always grateful for that. I promise you that I will do everything in my power, everything that I have, to take this business that we all love and keep it alive for the next generation who will keep it alive when I am gone. I promise you that. I will work my ass off for you. It might not always be great, it might not always be perfect, but I will give you every fucking thing that I have, because you made me who I am, and I will never forget it. So to everybody out there, supporters, haters, I do not care. I've got 2 words for you. I was thinking thank you, but I'll go with the second. All right. Thank you very much.